Hi, I'm Chris, and if you're in the market for a lightweight carbon plate race shoe, then this could be the shoe for you. The 361 Flame RS. If any of you watch the channel, I'm a massive fan of the original version, and it's still my fastest 5k shoe at 18:25, which I run last year. In this video, we're going to go through some basic stats of the shoe, what's changed from this version to this version, how I found it on my first few runs, and also what are the negative points and where will it actually fit in my rotation. Right, so let's give you some information about the new shoe. This is more or less a completely different shoe. The only thing in common is the sole and the carbon fiber plate, which runs the full length of the shoe. Other than that, everything is new. So let's kind of start from the bottom and work our way up. The sole, as I say, is exactly the same. That's an RPU rubber. My other ones, I've got probably about 100 miles in, and when I run, I tend to hit here and transition on the toe. I've got a kind of slight wear here and a slight wear on the toe, but I would expect to probably get about 250 miles maybe before they wear through. Might get more, might get less, but obviously I haven't taken them to that distance yet, because I think on your speed shoes, you're only going to wear them when you do your faster sessions or your races, so sometimes it takes quite a while to get them to that sort of mileage. So let's talk about the rest of the shoe. It's an 8mm drop from heel to toe. In a size 9, it comes in at 209 grams, which is about 10 grams less than the old version. And in my size 11, it's around about 260 grams, and it fits true to size. It's got an all new midsole. It's made from Piba foam, have more cushioning, and it's going to give you more performance out of the shoe. The carbon plate is exactly the same, which you can actually see it under the shoe through there, and that is actually sandwiched in between the two bits of foam. And then if we actually, before we move up to the upper, it's got this nice rocker effect on the front to kind of give you that propulsion when you kind of push off. The upper for me is the biggest change from the older shoe. It's kind of more of a kind of grown-up look, and love the new colorway. They've now used a kind of mono engineered mesh, so it's more breathability. It's got holes all the way through from the front to the back, so it's going to be more breathable. It's got 3D kind of printed design on there that look really good. They've changed the lacing, because on the original ones the laces were very, very long, and I ended up having to change them. They've improved the tongue. It's got a little bit more padding in there, and it's kind of pressure free, which is the same as the other one, but for me that just additional padding, it just helps stop it from kind of creasing over, because it was quite thin in the original version. We've got a really nice heel collar for better lockdown. Was very excited to kind of test this shoe and see if it performed as good as the other one, seeing as I knew that it was my fastest shoe, and it was, I used to look forward to running in it. So what was it like on my first run? Well, first of all, when I got out of the box and put it on, it felt exactly the same as the original one. The reason it feels the same is because they use the same geometry and tooling when they made the shoe, so it's kind of exactly the same fit. You get loads of kind of toe room, you get a secure fit, it's easy to do up on the laces, and I've never had any rubbing on the other one, and the runs that I took it on this one didn't have any hot spots, rubbing, blisters, etc. So it felt very similar. Before I take out new shoes, when they make up the updated versions, I tend not to read too much about the kind of jargon, because I like to feel the differences for myself. And the biggest difference for me was, I did have some issues with the first version. I found that the inner sole was very, very thin, and changed it, and it kind of improved the ride, because I was getting too much road feel, which I don't like. So I kept this inner sole in, which is also quite thin, and it felt way more cushioned. It felt more of a kind of natural ride, because on the other one it was very snappy. You kind of get to this era and you felt that you kind of propelled off. Obviously, yes, you do transition off. This one you don't feel it as much, but I think that's because obviously the foam's been changed, and as I say, it's more kind of feels more of a kind of natural ride. But it is a very, very quick shoe. I put it through the different paces from kind of 8-minute mile in down to below 6-minute mile in, and I say it is I believe it's still as quick as the other shoe, but for me, it's just slightly more cushioned and a better looking shoe. So I've no doubt that this is going to be as quick as the other shoe if I was to do it over a 5k time trial, but unfortunately I'm not in that sort of shape at the moment, so I don't want to obviously put the two together because obviously I might not be as quick. I mentioned about kind of negatives. The only negatives I can think of is out of the box it is quite noisy. After you've done a few runs in it, it does quieten down, but it's not the noisiest shoe, but it's not the quietest shoe. But I think we've kind of come to expect that on a lot of the kind of carbon plate lightweight races that tend to be a bit noisier than some of the other shoes or daily trainers. So not a major problem, but obviously just be aware of that. Is this shoe going to go in my rotation? Well, this shoe for me fits perfectly between kind of 5k and 10k. It is marketed to go 5k to a marathon. Some people might, you know, like the kind of firm to kind of medium ride, but once I go over kind of 10k, I just prefer a bit more cushioning. You know, I'm a bit older and I just need the more cushioning rather than the kind of harder feel. This feel for me is just perfect over those shorter distances because you can get the power down, because, you know, when we're doing the marathon, we're not, or half marathon, we're not running as quick, but we still want that responsiveness, and we still want, but we want more cushioning. So for me, it is a shoe that's definitely going to go in my rotation, a shoe that I would definitely recommend. It comes in at £160, so quite well placed within the kind of fast shoe market. If you don't get on with the Vaporfly, which I didn't, because I think that if you've got Achilles issues or you tend to heel strike, then the Vaporfly isn't really for you, because the ZoomX foam is too soft, and you will find that your ankle will collapse and you'll have Achilles issues, calf problems, etc. You know, if you're a mid-foot striker or forefoot, you know, it's a fantastic shoe. I'm not knocking it, but I think that if you was to look at more of the kind of firmer foams, you would find they would work a lot better for you and you would have less niggles. So let me know if you've tried the old shoe, the original Flame, or whether you tried the Flame RS in the comments, or have you tried any other 361 shoes, because I'd be interested to know your feedback on them, on some of them, maybe the daily trainers. Right, I'm going to leave the video there, and as per always, I will speak to you soon. Onwards and upwards. Cheers!